यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरावनचारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस पर्व कथा अष्टोत्तर के शील ऐसी भक्त स्वामी प्रपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस पर्व कथा अष्टोत्तर के शील भक्त सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई महाराज की अनंत कोट वैष्णव भक्तवृंद की नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गो गोपीनाथ श्याम राधा की गोवर्धन की वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की, नवदीप मायापुर धाम की, गंगा मैया की, यमुना मैया की, तुलसी देवी की, भक्ति देवी की, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Guru Hari Bol. Today we are reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 40, the three modes of material nature, text number 19. I welcome you, all of you, in the evening session of this Bhagavad Gita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. मेरे पीछे दोहराएंगे। nānyaṁ guṇebhyaḥ kartāraṁ yadā draṣṭānupaśyati guṇebhyaś param vetti mad-bhāvaṁ adhigacchati nānyaṁ guṇebhyaḥ kartāraṁ yadā draṣṭānupaśyati guṇebhyaś param vetti mad-bhāvaṁ adhigacchati nānyaṁ guṇebhyaḥ kartāraṁ yadā draṣṭānupaśyati guṇebhyaś param vetti mad-bhāvaṁ adhigacchati nānyaṁ guṇebhyaḥ kartāraṁ yadā draṣṭānupaśyati guṇebhyaś param vetti mad-bhāvaṁ adhigacchati nānyaṁ guṇebhyaḥ kartāraṁ yadā guṇebhyaś param vetti mad-bhāvaṁ adhigacchati nānyaṁ guṇebhyaḥ kartāraṁ yadā draṣṭānupaśyati guṇebhyaś param vetti mad-bhāvaṁ adhigacchati. Matajis, nānyaṁ guṇebhyaḥ kartāraṁ yadā draṣṭānupaśyati guṇebhyaś param vetti mad-bhāvaṁ adhigacchati. Now word-to-word meeting. Na, no, anyam, other, guṇebhyaḥ, then the qualities, kartāraṁ, performer, yadā, when, draṣṭā, a seer, anupaśyati, sees properly, guṇebhyaḥ, to the modes of nature, cha, and param, transcendental, vetti, knows, mad-bhāvaṁ, to my spiritual nature, sa, he adhigacchati is promoted. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki. When one properly sees that in all activities no other performance is at work than these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord who is transcendental to all these modes, he attains my spiritual nature. Please repeat after me. When one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work than these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord who is transcendental to all these modes, he attains my spiritual nature. Purport. One can transcend all the activities of the modes of material nature simply by understanding them properly while learning from the proper soul. The real spiritual master is Kṛṣṇa, and he is imparting this spiritual knowledge to Arjuna. Similarly, it is from those who are fully in Kṛṣṇa consciousness that one has to learn the science of activities in terms of modes of nature. Otherwise, one's life will be misdirected. By the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master, a living entity can know of his spiritual position, his mental body, material body, his senses, how he is entrapped and how he is under the spell of material modes of nature. He is helpless, being in the grip of these modes, but when he can see his real position, then he can attain to the transcendental platform, having the scope for spiritual life. Actually, the living entity is not the performer of different activities. He is forced to act because he is situated in a particular type of body, conducted by some particular modes of material nature. Unless one has the help of spiritual authority, he cannot understand in what position he is actually situated. With the assistance of a bona fide spiritual master, he can see his real position, and by such an understanding, he can become fixed in full Kṛṣṇa consciousness. A man in Kṛṣṇa consciousness is not controlled by the spell of material modes of nature. It has already been stated in the 7th chapter that one who has surrendered to the Kṛṣṇa is relieved from the activities of material nature. For one who is able to see things as they are, the influence of the material nature gradually ceases. A man in Kṛṣṇa consciousness is not controlled by the spell of the material modes of nature. It has already been stated in the 7th chapter that one who has surrendered to the Kṛṣṇa is relieved from the activities of material nature. For one who is able to see things as they are, the influence of material nature gradually ceases. Om Ajnantrimanandasya Jnananjana Salakya Chachumritam Aina Tasmai Sri Gurme Namah Sri Chaitanya Manubhishnam Sthapitam Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamayam Dadati Sapadantigam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyudkamlam Sri Guruna Vaishnavancha Sīrūpam Sagrajatam Segan Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sāvadetam Sāvadutam Parajan Saitam Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Kṛṣṇa Padam Segan Lalta Visakha Vintaj He Kṛṣṇa Karuna Sindhu Dīnabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Radha Namastate Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavani Sri Vrishabhan Sute Devi Pranamam Harpriye Vancha Kalpatruvarishta Kripa Sundhyavacha Patitanam Pavnevu Vaishnadevo Namo Namah Jai Sri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Binda Hare Kṛṣṇa 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Kṛṣṇa 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Kṛṣṇa 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Kṛṣṇa. nānyaṁ guṇebhyaḥ kartāraṁ yadā draṣṭānupaśyati guṇebhyaścha param vetti mad-bhāvaṁ so adhigacchati. When one properly sees that in all activities no other performance is at work than these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord who is transcendental to all these modes, he attains my spiritual nature. The Lord Kṛṣṇa has this indicated in this text that one must know what are the three modes of material nature. What is the influence of the material nature on the life of the human being? Then and only then one can transcend the modes of material nature. In this material world, the 99% of the human beings are ignorant of the modes of material nature. When they are ignorant of the modes of material nature, then it is not possible for them to cross this ocean of material nature. The knowledge regarding the modes of material nature is must actually. Then and only then they can transcend the material nature, and secondly, they must know the Lord Kṛṣṇa. Without knowing the Lord Kṛṣṇa, they cannot engage themselves in the devotional service of Lord Kṛṣṇa. They cannot surrender to the Lord Kṛṣṇa. This is a must actually. The reason behind that is that तेरे वेल गुणमय भाव है एवि सर्वम इदम जगत मोहितम ना विजानाति मम एभ्यः परम अव्यम. Deluded by the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion and ignorance, the whole world does not know the Kṛṣṇa. Who am I above the modes and inexhaustible. The whole world is enchanted and influenced by three modes of material nature. Those who are bewildered by these three modes of material nature cannot understand that the Supreme Lord Kṛṣṇa is above these modes. In this material world, everyone is under the influence of these three modes of material nature, and thus all are bewildered. By nature, the living entities have particular type of body and particular type of psychic and biological activities accordingly. There are four classes of men functioning in the three modes of material nature. Those who are purely in the modes of goodness are called Brahmins. Those who are purely in the mode of passion are called Kshatriya. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance are called Vaishyas. And those who are completely in ignorance are called Sudras. And those who are less than that are animals or animal-like. These designations are not permanent, these are temporary. One may either be a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or whatever. In any case, this life is temporary. But although life is temporary and we do not know that what we are going to be in the next life, by the spell of this energy, we consider ourselves as American, Indian, Russian, Brahmin, Hindu, Muslim, etc. We must know where we are going, what we are doing here actually, what will be our fate in the next life, whether the next life exists or not actually. Then not only then one can take the action for these three modes of material nature. If we become entangled with the modes of material nature, then we forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa, who is behind all these modes actually. Lord Kṛṣṇa is behind all these modes. So Lord Kṛṣṇa says that man, deluded by these three modes of material nature, do not understand the background behind these modes of material nature. That is Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is must have. There are many different kinds of living entities, human beings, demigods, animals, etc. Each and every one of them is under the influence of material nature, and all of them have forgotten the transcendental personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance, and even those who are in the modes of goodness, cannot go beyond the satisfaction of the self. They are bewildered because of forgetfulness of Supreme Personality of Godhead, who possesses opulences, beauty, knowledge, strength, fame, and renunciation. When even those who are in mode of goodness cannot understand, then what hope is there for those who are in the passion and ignorance? Kṛṣṇa consciousness or the devotion service to the Lord is transcendental to all these three modes of material nature, and those who are truly established in Kṛṣṇa consciousness are actually liberated. देवी ऐसा गुणमयी मम माया दुर्तया मामे वे पपदन्ते माया मेतां तरन्ते ते. How we can cross the modes of material nature, and what is this actually? The divine energy of mind, the Lord Kṛṣṇa says, the divine energy of mind consisting of three modes of material nature is difficult to overcome. But those who have taken surrender unto me can easily cross beyond it. The living entities are part the living entities are part of his energies and are therefore divine. Do they contact with material energy, their original superior power is covered by material energy. Being thus covered by the material energy, one cannot possibly overcome its influence. Both the material and spiritual natures, being emanations from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are eternal. The living entities belong to the eternal superior nature of the Lord, but due to the contamination by the inferior nature, matter, their illusion is also eternal. The conditioned soul is therefore called nityapat, or eternally conditioned. His release from the clutches of the material energy is ultimately conducted at the will of Supreme Lord, which the living entity cannot overcome. Inferior material energy is defined herein as a divine nature due to its divine connection and movement by the divine will. Being conducted by the divine will, material nature, although inferior, acts so wonderfully in keeping the living entity conditioned in this world, resulting in repeated birth, death, old age and disease. The modes of material nature is a kind of rope by which the conditioned souls are tightly tied by the ropes of illusion. A man bounded by the hands and legs cannot free himself, but he must be held by a person who is unbound, because the bound man cannot help the other bound man. The rescuer must be liberated. Therefore, only the Lord Kṛṣṇa or his bona fide representative, the spiritual master, can release the conditioned soul from the clutches of the three modes of material nature. Without such superior help, one cannot be freed from the bondage of material nature. So in this connection, actually, the association of the spiritual master is a must actually. Tad vidhi padpatena paraprasena sevaya upadeshanti te jnanam jnana tattvadarshina. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self-life soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. One has to approach the spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself to know that what are these three modes of material nature, how and in what way affecting the life of living beings. The path of spiritualization is undoubtedly very difficult. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciples. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process, as is the fashion of the foolish pretenders. Bhagavatam 6.3.19 says, Dharmam tu sakshat pranitam. The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, the mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help one progress in spiritual life. one has to approach the bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge, to know the modes of material nature, its influence on the life of living being, and the way to cross over the ocean of three modes of material nature. One comes to know this knowledge he has to adopt in his life to avoid repetition of birth and death. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-life spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiries and submission constitutes the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. Devotional service or the Kṛṣṇa consciousness can help one gain such release. Kṛṣṇa, being the Lord of illusion energy, can order this insurmountable energy to release the conditioned soul. He orders the release out of his causeless mercy on the surrendered soul and out of his paternal affection for the living entity who is originally a beloved son of the Lord. Therefore, surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is the only means to get free from the clutches of the stringent material nature. The personality of Godhead, Kapil Dev, Lord Kapil Dev, had mentioned in the Bhagavatam, when the living entity is unaffected by the modes of material nature, because he is unchanging. Living entity means soul. Soul is unchanging. The soul passes from childhood to youth to old age and death. That remain the same actually. There is no change in the soul actually. But the body changes. There is changes in the body actually. And ultimately the body is distracted actually. The soul is unchanging and does not claim proprieties. He remains apart from the reactions of the modes, although abiding in a material body, just as the sun remains aloof from its reflection on the water. Simply by beginning the discharge of devotional service, one can attain detachment and transcendental knowledge. Transcendental knowledge to cross over this ocean of material world actually, for understanding the science of God. A person who is detached from the modes of material nature remains just like the sun reflected on the water. When the sun is reflected on the water, the movement of water or the coolness or unsteadiness of the water cannot affect the sun. Similarly, when one engages fully in the activities of the devotional service, bhakti yoga, he becomes just like the sun, reflected on the water. Although a devotee appears to be in the material world, but actually he is in the transcendental world. As the reflection of the sun appears to be on the water, but it is many millions of miles away from the water, so one engaged in the bhakti yoga process is a nirgun. Nirgun means he is unaffected by the three modes of material nature. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmented parts. Due to the conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. Each and every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and thus his eternal position is to cooperate or to dovetail his energy with Supreme Lord. This is his unchanging position. As soon as he changes this position or employs the energy and activities for sense gratification, he is under the influence of material world. Even this material body, when he practices devotional service under the direction of spiritual master, he comes to the position which is without change, because that is a natural duty. As stated in the mad-bhāvaṁ, the liberation means reinstatement. Reinstatement means this material world is not our residence. Our residence is the Vrindavan Dham, Vaikunta Dham actually. Because we are here in this world temporarily. So we have to reinstate in the Vrindavan Dham, the Vaikunta Dham actually. This is the reinstatement actually. This is because of the devotional service of the Lord actually. That is our original position. The original position is one of the rendering devotional service to the Lord, Bhakti Yoga. When one becomes detached from the material attraction and engaged fully in devotional service, that is his changelessness. That means it is unaffected actually by the material nature actually. When one does something at his own risk, he is not governed by the instruction of Supreme Personal Godhead. There is a sense of proprietorship and therefore suffer as simple reactions. But when one does everything for Kṛṣṇa, there is no proprietorship. One can immediately situate himself in the transcendental position in which one is not touched by the modes of material nature, just as reflection of sun is unaffected by water. When the soul is under the spell of material nature and under false ego, identifying his body as a self, he becomes absorbed in the material activities. And by the influence of the false ego, he thinks that he is the proprietor of everything. Actually, the conditioned soul is forced to act under the influence of modes of material nature. The living entity has no independence. When he is under the direction of Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is free. But when under the impression that his activities are for the satisfaction of his senses, he engages in the material activities. He is actually under the spell of material nature. Prakriti kriya madani guna karamadi sarvashaha ahinkar vimudatma kartāraṁ it manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of three modes of material nature, thinks himself the doer of all activities, which are actually carried out by the three modes of material nature. One acts according to the particular modes of nature he has acquired. He is under the influence of the qualities of mode of material nature, but he falsely thinks that he is the proprietor. The false sense of proprietorship can be avoided simply by engaging oneself in the devotional service under the direction of the Supreme Lord or his bona fide spiritual master. Arjuna was trying to own responsibility for killing his grandfather and teacher in the fight, but he became free from the proprietorship when he acted under the direction of Kṛṣṇa. He fought under the direction of Lord and became free from the reactions of fighting. Although in the beginning he was non-violent, unwilling to fight, and entire responsibility was resting on him. This is the difference between the liberation and conditioning. A conditioned soul may be very good and act in the mode of goodness, but still he is conditioned under the spell of material nature. A devotee is, however, acts completely under the direction of Supreme Lord. Thus, his action may not appear to be of a very high quality to the common man, but the devotee has no responsibility. The conditioned soul, therefore, transmigrates in different species of life, higher and lower. Because of association and modes of material nature, unless he is relieved of the material activities, he has to accept this position because of his activities and other than for Lord Kṛṣṇa. Foolish conditioned soul may think that he is offering charity by opening hospitals for material benefit or by opening an educational institution for material education. But he does not know that all such work are binding in this material world, because such activities will not give him any relief from the process of transmigration from one body to another. This means that one may take birth in a very high family, or he may take his birth in a higher planets among the demigods for his so-called pious activities in the material world. To take birth in a nice place or in a high family does not mean that one avoids undergoing the material tribulations, the pangs of birth, death, old age and disease. A conditioned soul under the spell of material nature cannot understand that any action he performs for sense gratification is cause of repeated birth and death, and that only his activities in devotional service to the Lord can give him release from the reaction of material activities. If he does not engage in such fruitful activities, he has to undergo repeated birth and death and compelled to accept the different bodies. One who desires liberation from the material world or to cross over the modes of material nature, he has to work for the pleasure of the Lord and his satisfaction. There is no other alternative. So this is the devotion service is the only way to cross over this modes of material nature and to attain the highest goal of life, that the Supreme Personality with Lordhead, and to attain the goal of Vrindavan Dham or Vaikunta Dham. This is the only way. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are 64 process of the devotional service actually. 64 types. And out of these 64 types, only 5 types of the process are important actually. And one who performs his devotion service according to these 5 processes, he can attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa. And what is this actually? One is the association of devotees. This is must actually. Just as you are listening the Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam actually, here in this Balram hall actually, one has to associate, one has to cooperate, one has to solve the problems of the other devotees in terms of devotion service actually. One have to bring all the persons actually in this devotion service actually, by explaining the importance of the devotion service actually. There are many persons who are visiting this temple. One can speak to them and make them understand how he can cross over these modes of material nature and attain to the Vrindavan Dham actually, the supreme goal of life. The other second number is that chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. One should chant congregationally this kirtan actually, as we are doing. Just you have chanted the kirtan actually along with me actually. So you have to chant congregationally actually. You have to speak actually. You have not to remain mum actually. When the kirtan is going on, just keep attention actually. What the leader of that kirtan is chanting actually, and you have also to accompany with them actually. Next is reading and listening mad-bhāvaṁ, Bhagavad Gita. You have to attend the class regularly, irrespective of who is the person who has to speak to you on the Bhagavad Gita subject and the Bhagavatam actually. This should be done regularly. This will bring you the confusion which is in your mind actually, that will be cleared actually by regular attending the class. And fourth is residing in Mathura, the birthplace of Lord Kṛṣṇa actually. Because here in this Mathura actually, you see, just when you go out in the market actually, you will listen to the transcendental sound actually. Somebody will say Radhe Radhe, somebody will say Hare Kṛṣṇa, somebody will say Hari Bol. So these are the holy names which we listen and enter in our heart actually through our ears actually, and that actually what is clears the dirtiness which is in our heart actually. This is very much important actually. Then worshipping deities with great respect and veneration. This is very much necessary. You see actually when the devotees are visiting or attending to this temple actually, they are regularly actually have darshan actually of the Lord actually. Shri Kṛṣṇa Balram, Shri Radha Shyam Sundar, Shri Gaunetaya, Srila Prabhupada actually. So this is very much must actually. Or if they are not able to attend the Mangal Arti or Darshan Arti or Evening Arti, the temple actually, they must take darshan at home actually. They should make their own individual arrangement actually, regularly actually. One should listen Srimad Bhagavatam from the pure devotee actually, in association with devotees. one should associate with the devotees who are more advanced actually than oneself. So we have to remain in association with the devotees who are more advanced actually. Right? Then only then we can cross over this ocean of material world actually. These are the 5 items actually, 5 principles actually. These 5 items are very wonderful and difficult to reconcile. Even without faith in them, a person who is offenseless can experience dormant love for Kṛṣṇa simply by a little connection with him. So this is the process actually by which one can cross over the modes of material nature and attain the supreme goal of life, Sri Kṛṣṇa, the goal of Vrindavan and Vaikunta. Just chant the holy name Lord Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. By chanting the holy name of Lord Kṛṣṇa, be happy, make your life happy and make it successful actually. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Any question you can ask. Hari Bol, Hare Kṛṣṇa. Thank you very much.